Many bloggers use Twitter to post notifications with links to new blog posts. While it's not very difficult to do this manually, it's a lot easier when it can be automated. Twitter Feed is a free service that does just that. It automates the posting of new content from RSS feeds. Since most blogging software automatically generates and updates RSS feeds, Twitter can automate this tweeting of new blog entries. To set this up, start by going to the Twitter Feed website and logging in. The Twitter Feed site is twitterfeed.com. You can see it up in the address bar here. And logging in is a little bit tricky. In order to log into Twitter Feed, you need an OpenID. If you don't already have one, you need to click this OpenID link to get started getting one. I won't review that process. Chances are you might already have one. If you've got a WordPress.com blog, then you already have one. And there's a bunch of other services that you might be already using that would give you an OpenID. Once you've got an OpenID, just click Login to Twitter Feed. I'm going to use my WordPress.com login, but here's a list of the other services. So if you're on, for example, Yahoo or MyOpenID or Flickr or whatever, you could probably use one of these services to connect. I'm just going to use my WordPress one since I'm already logged into WordPress. So I've OpenID. I put in my WordPress account login information. I'll click Login. Now it goes out to WordPress in this case. It checks to see who I am, knows who I am, and it comes back to Twitter Feed and welcomes me in. So now I'm in. And this is basically what will happen when you have an OpenID and you log in. Now, I'm going to go to my Twitter feeds or create a new one. I want to create a brand new one, so I'll click that. And I've got no feeds here, so I want to create one. I'll click Create New Feed. And now what I need to do is I need to fill in this form with information about my feed. So I want to make sure that it knows it's for Twitter, which it is. And I have to type in my Twitter user ID and password. So it's Flying M Air and the password. And now I need to put in the feed, the URL for the RSS feed. Now, for this example, just to show you what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to use my own personal blog as an example. And I happen to have the window open right here. So I'll switch to that. And I have a link right here for my feed. So I'm going to right-click on that and pick Copy Link Location. And that's going to copy my link location. I'll go back to Twitter Feed. And then I'll select this and I'll paste the contents, and that's the address to my feed. And yours might look different. I use FeedBurner, but you might not, and it'll look different. Make sure it's exact, though. If it's wrong, it won't work. You can test the feed, by the way, by clicking this link. So if you want to test it, make sure it works. It's probably a good idea because if it doesn't work, this won't work. If you made a mistake, it won't work. So now it parsed it successfully, and we're okay. Now, you can pick how often it should check for new content. And this really depends on how often you post new content. What they request is that if you post infrequently, like maybe every couple of days, that you set it for a higher number, like 12 or 24 hours. Whereas if you post very frequently, like maybe several times a day, you might want to set it to 30 minutes. I'm going to set mine to 6 hours because I usually post once a day, once, twice a day. Over here under Include, you tell it what you want to include in that feed. In other words, in the tweet that it's going to put out there. Title and description, the title only, or the description only. The title is the title of the blog post. The description is any excerpt you might have or any description field that you might have for it. I usually keep this set to title only to keep it nice and brief. You could also, if you prefer, just do the description. So I'm going to just set it to title only. Now you have a choice of whether or not you want to include a link to the post, and I highly recommend leaving this turned on. You definitely want a link to the post because you're not just going to tell them about it. You want them to go there and read it, so you want to give them a link. And you can shorten the link automatically using any of these different services. These are all link shortening services. TinyURL is the default, but any of these other ones will work too. So you pick the one you like. Post new items based on the publishing date or some other date code that's in there. Just leave this set to publishing date. That's probably what you want. You can put up to 20 characters before the post title or description and link. What I usually have in mind is I have it set up so that it says new blog post or an eclectic mind, which is the name of my blog. So you could type that in here. For now, I'm just going to leave it blank. If you leave it blank, it won't have any prefix text. It'll just display the post name and the link. There's a filtering feature, which I'm not going to go into now. If you decide to use this, you can explore it on your own. So that's all I'm going to do here. I'll click Create. Right now, Firefox is asking if I want to remember that password. I'm just going to say not now. And it's put all this information in here so that this is the feed itself. This is my username, so my account. And then these buttons here, if I ever go back in here and want to edit them, I can make it inactive, I can edit it, or I can delete it. So now this is done, and this will just automatically start working. I don't have any examples. I'm not blogging right now. I'm kind of busy doing this. So I don't have any examples of new blog posts. However, I can show you another Twitter user that we follow who is using this feature, and that's the Unofficial Apple Weblog. They use this feature. They post multiple times in a day, and they've got Twitter feed. You can see its Twitter feed. It says right down here. They've got it set up so that it just puts out the title of the post and then the URL to the post shortened with tinyURL. And what will happen is throughout the day, every time there's a new post, periodically Twitter feed will go out there. It'll look at their blog. It'll say, oh, there's something new. And it'll create a tweet and it'll post it on Twitter. And then everybody who follows the Unofficial Apple Weblog, or TUAW, will be able to learn about these new posts as they come out. If you're a blogger, I highly recommend this. Twitter Feed's an excellent way to spread the news about new blog posts because it handles the task automatically, guaranteeing that each blog post is mentioned once and only once on Twitter, not long after you've put it online.